For a classic circuit, I must say that made Formula E look fantastic. And as the commentary said at the very end of the show, it's a 13 out of 10, and I can completely agree. We had everything we could want from a Formula E race. We had a bit of a sprinkle of a drizzle and an amazing result at the end. And we're going to talk all about that for the winners and losers of this episode of Formula E Unscripted. So welcome back, Formula E fans. My name is Kyle from The Current Lap, and we have just watched the Madrid E-Prix. It's a classic circuit, and that's quite unusual for Formula E to choose a classic circuit because we're very much like Lego. We build our own in cities and try and be as sustainable as possible. But they are starting to move, and I think put the feelers out for real racing circuits as we progress into Gen 4. And this one was either going to be a stinker or an absolute goat. And I must say, it was fantastic to see the cars on track. And it was really racy. And the punishments that happened for the drivers who got it wrong really did get punished through their own doing, which is it's fantastic. It's not always a call from the FIA. It's you're in the gravel, mate, because you overcooked it. So in this episode of Unscripted, for the winners and losers, we're going to discuss how this race went on. Obviously, it's great to see Dak versus Verline, or Pascal Verline versus Da Costa again, but this time they can fight it out in different teams, and I feel like that really got continued in today's race. We also had the fact that Kiro had a new livery. This whole Madrid E-Prix was sponsoring one of the new Kiro cars, which I actually think looked really cool on the advertisement for a hatchback car. I thought, yeah, that's pretty awesome. Kiro then mirrored it with their livery, so it was this like almost Marty Stripes from Madagascar type livery. I know Corey would have made that joke if I didn't. So yeah, the Kiro livery looked very different. It was very black and white this time, but to go with that new sponsor for the race. And I love the fact that I cover the sponsor and it kind of pushes the advert even further. Nato was looking strong in qualifying. I want to mention it because actually I think he did really well through the beginning stages. Obviously, I'm not going to do winners and losers with the qualifying, but I just wanted to give Nato a shout out because I think he actually did quite well for having the season he is at the moment. So this weekend was a pit boost race. Formula E made the decision to add this in to give them more of a longevity in the race. I think originally it was going to be 21 laps, and with the pit boost it actually pushed us to 23. And I think that's a fantastic decision because it gives the viewers at the trackside a little bit longer to see the action on track, but also proves that pit boost does work as a supplement to give them more power. And I think it did add quite a bit. We had 3 groups. We had the first group, the second group, and then we had Mitch Evans on his own. So that's kind of the wrap up that we've got for this race. Let's discuss the winners and losers. And the first winner I'm going to say is Porsche as a team. And why I'm doing this, obviously Pascal had a fantastic result, finishing in 3rd. But also, Muller played a very good team game. And I think today's decisions on track is what's kept them ahead of the championship, because they're not that far ahead of Jaguar now, and we'll look at those in the tables. But Muller let Pascal Wehrlein through at the right point in the track, and I think that was a really good team playing move that, again, scored them both decent points. I think if he made it more of a challenge, Pascal might not have got into 3rd place because Dan Ticktum might have been able to do something in the future. And I think that was one of the key moments for Porsche, and I just wanted to bring it up as that's how you win a Constructors, by having a great pairing. My next one is Dan Ticktum. Obviously, he started in 9th position and almost made it onto the podium. Had the squabbling between Da Costa and Mitch not happened, he might have been able to have a cleaner exit. But I think Dan really shows that Kiro car is pretty quick. He obviously had a bad start to the season, but to score into 4th position at this current moment of time as well. I forgot to mention, I'm recording this as the decision with Mitch Evans hasn't happened, but I'm doing Unscripted on those results. But to get a 4th position, Dan Ticktum is starting to pull back some of the points I think he's lost. I think he can get into the top 6 maybe by the end if he keeps putting these performances, but I think it's going to be quite a hard championship for Dan Ticktum to pull back. The next one I want to mention is obviously Mitch Evans. We nominated him as our driver of the day because I think to come from 16th to 1st, 16th to 2nd, that's got to hurt. I wrote 1st down here, I meant 2nd. And I took a picture earlier when they were going to the podium between him and Da Costa, and it was kind of a weird experience because like they looked like they were having a great time when they finished the race, but then they were shouting at each other. You can really show that race drivers, although they can be friends, can also be quite toxic to each other. And I think it was very icy. But to get a Jag 1-2 is another reason why Jaguar are definitely the biggest winners of today. I think it was a bit tense at the end, and as some of you know, I'm a Jag fan, so it was what I would not want to see. It was almost like they could have crashed into each other and we could have lost the constructors, you know, in the future. So another big winner, obviously, is Antonio Felix da Costa. I mean, man, he's done superb. I think he did pretty well in qualifying. And one thing I want to mention is none of the Jag powertrains look strong in free practice 1, 2, or even the qualifying stage. So they did pretty well, I think, to turn around a result that very looked like it lent into Stellantis and Porsche's hands. So yeah, I'm super happy with how Jag performed today. I think they and Porsche are definitely giving us a title fight that's going to run all the way to London. I hope, because it is a really good season, and season 12 is throwing punches everywhere. And in terms of like the drivers, I think it's definitely the Jags, Mortara, and Pascal Wehrlein, who I think is really throwing to see who can get that trophy of the drivers' constructors. So one final mention. I was iffing and ahhing about this, but Buemi, I think again, as the Jag powertrain didn't look strong, he put that car in a good position, scored some decent points from Vision, and has helped them rise up the table. So I just wanted to throw that one in there. So those are my winners. Now to the losers. And this was one of those races I went into and I was like, I don't know how a single header is going to play out. Is it going to be an easy video to make, or is it going to be hard to spot the losers? And I kind of feel like I got a middle ground between that. Obviously, the first loser is Nick de Vries. It's so sad to see this because I think he's quite talented and my perspective of him has changed as the season's gone on. But to go into the back of Pascal Wehrlein and lose your front wing, it's not great. Like, Mortara needs you to bring the points to the board to get Mahindra up in the constructors. And yeah, it was a mistake, but it's just annoying for him. And obviously, it's let the side down. The next one is also Maloney. I mean, this one is more, I think, team error. I got it down here as a technical issue, so it's just a real shame because I think it was another race that he could have shown his calibre. Me and Corey did some hot takes where we talked about, can he get in the points? As soon as I saw that come up, I just sort of put my head in my hands and was like, this is not what they need as a team. And I thought Zane Maloney had the opportunity here on a new track to score some points by pulling the strategy off, but it's a real shame. Another one who got lots of penalties, and I'm surprised about this, Oliver Rowland. Now, he is obviously our reigning champion. I don't think he's having a great season so far. The fact that the Nissan's not fighting and Oliver Rowland is slowly losing positions. He lost a position to Cassidy in the championship in qualifying, which that's what I love about those really random 3 points. They really work for them in the qualifying for that. But yeah, he went down a place after Cassidy got that. But while we're talking about Cassidy, he is also another loser of today. And I think he realised that it really sunk in over that message that he was saying over to his team when he asked who's in attack mode. And I think Cassidy was brilliant on pole position. And I think he was brilliant at the start of the race, but it was one of those where I was explaining to my friend who was watching it with me that like he doesn't want to be at the front for so long, and then he got into this position where I think he just sort of lost the race because in Formula E sometimes you do have to sit in 7th for 2 laps to win the race, and that's why I wasn't worrying when Da Costa dropped back and he wasn't in the top 5. And it's one of those things where, yeah, energy conservation is part of this sport and you don't want to lead. Some of the other creators will say, the peloton races, they're not the greatest things in Formula E, but for me, I actually kind of like it. So, but they're kind of like my big losers. I mean, they're the obvious losers, and I think the winners today, of course, are any of the Porsche or the Jag powertrains, because I think they really capitalise on this single header. It's now thrown the tables into a bit of a spin, and we'll have a look at those tables now. So, the drivers. Pascal Wehrlein is now on 83. Mortara is on 72. Evans on 65, followed by Da Costa on 64. And I think that's why Evans really wanted the win, to keep that lead over Da Costa. Then we've got a bit of a drop to Cassidy on 51 and then Muller on 50. So that's our top 6. Obviously, I don't cover the rest because we're really looking to see who can get the Drivers' Championship. Over at the Constructors, we've got Porsche on 133, Jag on 129, and that's why it's really important today that Porsche did what they did to make sure that they can capitalise on the most points, because had there been one place drop, we would have seen maybe Porsche lose the championship to Jaguar on this single header. Got Mahindra on 84, Envision on 64, Citroen on 61 and Nissan on 50. You can really see the gaps between it. And I think at the very first video I did of the season, I said it's going to be which teammates can do the best together. There's no like number one driver and number two driver. They're kind of just like ultimate teammates. And that's what worries me about this whole feud between Da Costa and Jaguar and Mitch Evans, like fighting over these positions, because at this moment in time, the result was fantastic. So, and if you crash into each other and you lose a hefty amount of points, like if they were to drop from second to eighth, you know, in an incident, that's where you're not going to be able to fight for the Constructors. So, but yeah, it's been a really good race. It's been sunny in England and really rainy in Madrid, which is surprising. But yeah, what a great race we've had. So my final thoughts. Well, as a Jag fan, I can't complain with 2 back-to-back wins for Antonio Felix da Costa. I think that Jag are starting to really show their form, and now da Costa's sort of bedded into the team. He's looking fast. I do have a conspiracy that he was given this surfboard mascot teddy at the beginning of this weekend, and then it being a wet race was almost like dropped in as a power-up and given him steam ahead to win another race. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what happens in Berlin. I think the championship is getting really close at the top. We're starting to drop a few teams now. There's going to be a few teams that are going to be fighting in the midfield, but not for the championship, and this is something that's really starting to show where the good drivers and the good teams are starting to sit. So I'm really happy with it. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to do what I normally do and get rid of my notes. What a fantastic race weekend we've had. We're going to bring some content over the break. Me and Corey are going to do some power ratings, and we're going to bring some extra content and talking about some of the stuff that's happened over the first 6 rounds of the Formula E Championship. And I'm really excited, and the channel's grown really well. And just to sort of say thanks to everyone who supported us through this first third of the season, because without you guys we wouldn't be able to do the content we do. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. My name is Kyle and this is The Current Lap.